Dr. Sajjad Zaidi.
Yes, sir.
It is indeed a pleasure to visit your library.
Thank you.
It is amazing, as I see. I think you have more than about 1,000 books.
Of course, yes, I do.
And different subjects.
That is correct.
I haven't come across a library so well organized, and there must be a lot of people I know, they have books, but not this lot.
Thank you.
So, Media for Peace is interested to have an interview from you and make sure that we come to know a few things which we do not know, because you have love to reading, and those who have love to reading naturally don't need to ask you why, but most of us don't have, and we take it granted that we have knowledge because we hear a lot of lectures and read a few books, no doubt, but from you we like to know a few things and a few questions which we'll appreciate if you could kindly answer and give us your viewpoints.
Absolutely, I will do it. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand you regularly attend various seminars, religious discourses, and listen to lectures on social media. What effect does reading a book have on the mind compared to listening to lectures and discourses?
That's a very interesting question, sir, you're asking. Listening to lectures and discourses, I would see that you are stimulating your auditory tracts of your brain only. Visually also, just the visual tracts have been just activated. But once you sit down and you open a book and you read, and you are now stimulating, in other words, it will ignite a kind of an imagination in your brain, because this all the information that you gather with your visual ability is going to go to your cognitive aspect of your brain. That's where it's going to enlighten your abstract abilities. It can enlighten your imagination. So there is no doubt in my mind that reading a book is a whole different ball game. Absolutely. And by the way, reading the book will get all your faculties of your brain together working. That will, I call it like a package deal that you have, which you don't have when you're listening somebody, and that there is a time confinement when you're listening. There will be a half-hour lecture, 1 hour lecture at the most, and then you have to be concentrating. There will be distractions and you will still trying to concentrate. But when you sit with your book in your hand, which I feel, by the way, sometimes I feel that when I hold my book, I'm reading any book for that matter, it's like I'm holding a dream in my hand, because that will take me into my imagination, into my abstraction ability, way far than, way beyond than what you can gain by listening to lectures. That would be my response to your question, sir.
Do you feel reading as a duty or as a valuable but often neglected gift?
I see that as a duty, of course, because as in our evolutionary stages of our brain and mind, that we have developed the ability to speak, which is supposed to be the highest ability of your cortical function in the brain, is aligned with your cognitive abilities, with your thinking abilities, and the abilities to reflect upon. So these faculties needs to be nourished, has to be enriched, and the only way you can do it is to read. So hence I feel that as a human being, it's our duty to read and read as much as you can, and even read when you don't have to read something. That's what gonna determine who you will be, because there's an immense amount of knowledge out there that are in the books. Again, it is now getting confined. It's coming on discs, it's coming on videos, but again, there is, in my mind, there's a huge difference between not reading and making a reading as a duty and spend time on it.
Are there greater benefits in reading the books of our own era, or from having access to the profound thoughts of writers throughout history?
Of course, it has a profound impact on the thoughts of other people, because reading is not time limited. Absolutely, you will be reading a literature which is written 300 years ago by Allama Rumi, or 400 years ago by Shakespeare, or 1400 years ago what Prophet Muhammad said. This is a condition, and it's a fact that you will transcend time. You will go beyond centuries, thousands of years ago. Today you sit down and read Vedas that was passed on orally and then were written down, were 5,000 years ago. So there is no doubt in my mind that reading takes you beyond centuries, beyond millenniums, anywhere. So I think I would say it's not time limited. That's my answer. Thank you.
How can a person who doesn't read or who is reluctant to read acquire a love for reading?
See, I would say in more practical aspects, there are certain things that you have to do to learn the benefit of it. For example, you do physical exercise. Unless and until somebody does the exercise for the required amount of time, for a certain number of frequency in a week, you will not see the benefits. The same thing when you have to sit down and read, period. You have to make yourself read, sit down, reflect upon it, then you get the pleasure, and then you will keep doing it. Like it will clearly, as I'm comparing it exactly with the exercise, that a lot of endorphins get secreted in the brain when you do exercise. A lot of endorphins get secreted when you read also, because it gives you a whole imagination that is beyond a limited comprehension. So, and then secondly, I would say, especially when children are young, read to them, read as much as you can when they are growing up, and do a role modeling, because you read in front of them, you read with them. That will be the stepping stone for a child to understand the value of reading. That's how I would say. How do you acquire it? You create an atmosphere. For example, I would say it's my library. I'm saying this because I created an atmosphere around me. When I come into my library and I sit, I have every kind of almost from different aspects and subjects of books. So I can pick up one book. If I have a mood today to read about philosophy, then I can pick the book up. So you can create an environment, do a role modeling and follow somebody that you know that who has read, who is very scholarly, have sit in his company or her company. That will give you more stimulation to read. So I think you have to acquire that, and you have to work for it, basically, to acquire.
Is there only value in reading factual books, or can knowledge grow through a variety of different types of books?
Oh, definitely. There are two different categories you're asking me. Factual books are factual books. That's very good. You have to read. That's where we gain knowledge. You want to read medicine, you want to read engineering book, whatever, whatever your profession is. So you're gathering facts about a certain science that you want to. But once you go beyond it, you go into the fictional field, I call it. That is an immense opportunity for you to understand, relive the characters created by these writers. And there are so fascinating books that you can read, and the writer will take you and will give you the story through the eyes of somebody else. It's not chronologically written story a lot of times, but so that will enrich you in immense amount of empathy. For example, you can develop with a certain character. You can develop hatefulness with another character. This is the gift of the writer, that the way they have written the character, you can relive the character. I can go on and on telling you that how wonderful it is to read a variety of books and read the fictional aspects, because then you can sit down, reflect on it, talk about it. I would say there are two big huge categories. These are two big huge categories you're asking me. They both are knowledgeable, but one is very confined to limited knowledge, I would say, compared to the variety of books.
Dr. Sajjad, most of my friends, and of course I myself, tend to believe that we gain more than enough knowledge simply by attending lectures and discourses. Could you further enlighten why you feel reading provides a valuable advantage over listening?
Listening will give you knowledge, of course. You can comprehend even what you have listened, but reading will open up many more vistas in your brain, in your faculty of cognitive energy, cognitive ability that the human brain has, that you will never get by listening. Because you can differ with the opinion of the speaker, but you have nothing to do and time, and you have to wait until its lecture is over. Book is not like that, and I feel that books and reading is something so unique. I find book to be my constant companion. I find book to be the most wisest counselor in my life. I have found books as being a patient teachers who have taught me a lot. I have learned an immense amount of wisdom, if I may say, that you can gather by reading, not by listening, sir. I would say reading would again be most important.
Dr. Sajjad, do you keep aside a monthly or yearly budget exclusively for buying books?
I don't, sir. That's my weakness. Going into a bookstore, looking at books in somebody else's house, somebody else's store, is my weakest point. I cannot control myself. I'm trying, I should say, to budget myself. But once I look into it, and if I find something that I don't have it or I would like to read, I am going all the way, sir. I would like to say from the depth of my heart, thank you so much for taking the trouble of coming down here in my library and taping me on for your work. It gives me a lot of pleasure. Believe me, I think you are the very first man ever who has come and expressed and liked what I have collected for years together, and seem to be appreciative of it. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.